movies. Busting makes me feel good.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Blockbusting, the podcast where we love to hate the movies. I'm your host, Jay Light. Joining me today is Jake Weisman.
Hi, Jay.
Hi, Jake.
Good to see you, man.
Good to see you, too. It's been a while. Our last exchanges were sometime in, like, April, and then you got all super busy.
Really? I haven't seen you since April?
I think so, because you came and did my Silver Lake show.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Is the beard new or no?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
so it
new.
has been since April. It's taken since April to grow that much.
Yes, exactly. I am. Oh my God, I'm getting so tired of it by now.
Yeah.
This might be the last week of the beard.
You can pull it off.
I feel like you're not wrong, but I also have noticed the trials and tribulations of having facial hair now. Like anytime I sneeze, I have to more extensively clean.
Yeah.
There's a lot more food. I
Were
gotta
you-
keep it up.
Were you growing a beard to hide something?
No,
Okay. You sure?
hide my youth.
Okay.
Hide my youth and inexperience.
Okay,
Probably
gotcha.
more than anything else.
Okay. Not like a weak chin or something like that.
No, I have a decent chin, I think. Jake has been very busy the past year, really, because he has a new show on Comedy Central called Corporate.
Yes.
That
It
is-
has taken over my life.
Yeah, it really did. And it just premiered this week, right? This past week.
Yes, this past week on Comedy Central, and it's Wednesdays at 10 p.m. on Comedy Central.
Great half hour, very dark workplace comedy.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen the first 4 episodes. The first 4 episodes. Are they all still streaming on ComedyCentral.com, or did they take them off for the
I
premiere?
think the first 2 are now on.
Okay.
But you can watch it on cc.com at any time, or like on demand, or Amazon. You can buy it on iTunes and that stuff. But it's very good, and I think you guys will like it.
It is very good, and I think you guys will like it as well. It's I really think it's got a nice. I really like the tone of it a lot. I think it's definitely a departure from the kinds of shows that Comedy Central's put on the air before, and I really enjoy the direction that you guys have gone with it in those first 4 episodes.
Well, I'm happy to do this podcast because a large part of making something you like is a reaction to what you don't like in other filmmaking. And I think for us, we were reacting against the type of comedies we often see on air, which are either sort of mopey comedies about being a comedian, or dramas about being a comedian, or office workplace comedies where everything is really happy and everyone's friends and there's a kooky boss. And I think we were just trying to make like a film TV show, like it's like filmmaking.
Yeah, and it definitely has a very cinematic feel to it in the way it's shot and edited. I think the music, there's a score to the show, and it really plays in. The whole aesthetic is very singular, and it feels very cinematic in a way that you don't really see on a sitcom, and B, a Comedy Central show.
Yeah, there's no reason that comedy shouldn't be filmmaking as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, comedy is, especially on TV, is mostly about editing, and jokes are about editing and timing, and yet most comedies just throw like a handheld camera at people and like improvise. And it's like, no, it should be written. And we're trying to make a satire as well, which is basically just a code word for we think we're smart. So it has to look good. It has to feel like a film. It's basically like a drama that's silly.
Yeah, that's definitely, and you get actors to play into that as well. I think Lance Reddick's character is so perfect because he is playing all of these very extremely heightened situations so seriously, which I think it is really necessary for a comedy like this too.
People forgot that Airplane is a drama that's silly. It's, you know, like Leslie Nielsen was a dramatic actor, but he's thought of as one of the funniest actors of all time, but he's just playing it straight. He's given incredibly silly things to say, but he's acting as if he's in a ridiculous drama, and I think that's the best kind of comedy.
Yeah, I think so too. I think this is going to be on what you said, 10 episodes?
10 episodes, Wednesdays at 10 p.m. on Comedy Central, and also you can find them at cc.com.
Wonderful. Is there anything that from your, I know I'm sure you've gotten this a lot in press and stuff, is there from your background of work, what sorts of things were you pulling into this show?
Oh, my nihilistic tone, or the fact that there's no point to life, and that everyone is in fear and sad and hates their jobs. If you ever hated your job, you'll like our show because it's a catharsis as opposed to just an escape from reality, which most TV shows are. But yeah, it's extremely dark. It's very honest. It has a ton of jokes. And I just think it comes from my extremely negative view of the world, which I view as completely correct.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
That's a good way to put it. And then
And my hatred of both political parties, and just sort of, it has like a libertarian streak. Although I'm not a libertarian, at least my comedy, I believe, is.
yeah, I would say that, having seen your comedy. I think I was the other question I had, film wise, did you have a background in college or anything? Were you studying film? Were you working on as a PA or anything before you got into this side of making stuff, or did you just always want? I know you said you always wanted to make, made sketches and stuff in the past. Did you sort of have to develop that aesthetic creatively, or was that something that you kind of came into the world of creating stuff already having?
Well, I moved out to LA to make movies, not to be in comedy. I fell into comedy and I love it, and it became the perfect vessel to make things. But to me, it's all about filmmaking, and I've always loved really dark things, really like satires, and I like how David Fincher movies look, which we're trying to sort of emulate with the show. But I like satires like Network or Doctor Strangelove or In the Loop, things that are very cutting but that look great. And so I moved out here with an obsession with film, just a complete film nerd, got into comedy, and then started making sketches and using comedy and the structure of comedy to make films. Like the movies I like are like by Michael Haneke and like David Fincher and Paul Thomas Anderson, like pretty intense people. But I think if you do what they're doing and you make it look like they're looking and then put the silliest joke possible, that's what I can do.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
And that's a good skill set.
And also,
to
it's
develop.
also our director, Pat Bishop, who used to do stand-up, is a brilliant filmmaker. And he was a filmmaking student at Northwestern. So he brought all of that to the show, and he's largely responsible for it.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
You guys, like I said, you guys, I think, have knocked it out of the park for those episodes I've seen. I can't wait to keep watching it.
Thanks, buddy.
You guys should all keep watching it, and it's just a great show.
Thanks.
It's add it to your. You don't have DVRs
Queue?
anymore. Add it to your queue.
Yeah. It's funny that everyone knows what the word queue is now. It sounds like a word nobody would know.
It doesn't. Yeah. The only time I'd ever heard of a queue beforehand was in Roller Coaster Tycoon.
Oh, I was thinking of just like in British comedies, queue up, that kind of thing.
Well, they said Roller Coaster Tycoon, I think, was developed by British people, and it says you make a queue to get on the rides.
Well, honestly, however you learn language, just do it.
Just do it. Just queue it up. Let's talk about some other things you might have queued up. This is the box office for the weekend just came in with estimates. Number one at the box office is a three-peat this weekend, the Jumanji remake, Welcome to the Jungle.
I've heard it's good.
I heard it's a fun time at the movies.
And that's The Rock and Kevin Hart, right?
Yep.
The Rock, do you like him?
He's a pretty entertaining actor. I haven't seen a lot of movies that he's in. I saw the Fast and the Furious movie from last year. I liked him in that. I thought he was funny, charming, charismatic. He's one of the top 5 stars. Yeah.
Yeah, he's really charming.
Yeah.
And you think he'll be president?
I mean, he could be president.
I guarantee he will be.
I think if he runs, he's going to get it.
I agree.
I would love to see. I remember there was a little while ago where somebody was floating John Cena versus The Rock. And that would be, I think, a very finally get a pro wrestling campaign the way that it's always been leading up to.
Do you think he makes people call him The Rock?
Oh yeah,
when he's fucking,
he has to be.
Yeah,
of course. If he doesn't have to get his tattoos edited out of movies, then he
that's a good
makes
point.
people
He's
call
a
him
good
The
lawyer,
Rock while he's
yeah.
fucking. Is The Rock married?
Probably.
I don't
but
know.
I doubt that he's faithful.
He doesn't have to be.
No, he does not.
He's The Rock.
Yeah, he's The Rock.
Can you smell The Rock's cooking? It's infidelity. Number 2 at the box office this week with $16.5 million is 12 Strong, your slice of January propaganda about the military.
Yeah, and that's with the actual people from the event.
No, that's coming out next month. That's 15-17 to Paris.
It's just
Clint
a lot
Eastwood's
of
movie.
numbers and a lot of like strength and stuff like that.
This is more in the.
Oh yeah,
this is the horse movie.
Michael Shannon's in it because he wants a paycheck, kind of thing.
Yeah,
it's always weird when you see like excellent actors go for these like propaganda things. You're like, I just always believe it's like they have extra kids. Yeah, and they just need a paycheck.
You gotta like somebody got into private school and you wind up not having enough to afford it.
Yeah.
I think 12 Strong's the one. I've seen billboards for it everywhere, and all the billboards are like, on September 11th, 2001, we were attacked. On September 12th, the day that they decided to join up, and it's
just weird that that's your, like, you come to Hollywood, you're like, this is my dream project, is to write and direct this movie. This is what I care about with cinema. It's such horseshit.
But there's a big market for it now.
Oh, that's all there is. Trump is president.
When was the Benghazi movie out? Was that last year or 2 years ago when the Benghazi movie came out?
I didn't even know they made one.
Oh yeah, Michael Bay made it.
Wow.
The secret soldiers of Benghazi or some shit like that.
Who gives a shit?
Hey man, most people give a shit now.
Also, when are we going to stop making movies about World War II? It's like, I think we got it. It like affected a lot of people. Like even Dunkirk, which I was like, yes, this is an artful like movie, I suppose. It's like, there's other wars, you know, we can talk about that stuff. Those people are about to die. You know what I mean? Let's talk about the new wars and how they're bad. I'm just so tired of it.
Or just make up World War II battles.
Yeah, it's just like, what do we need to keep talking about it? Like, I'm a Jew, so I always love when there's a Holocaust thing. It's like, remember that we're victims. But in general, it's like, I don't care. Like, this has all happened in Europe. I like going to Europe now. The food's good.
Yeah, food is good over there.
I don't need to talk about the bombs.
No, it's all been done to death. We've seen pretty much at this point every angle of World
what
War
else
II,
do
I
we
think,
need
that
to
we've
know?
seen. We got to see. Yeah, we'll see. You know what? That'll probably be the next. We haven't seen enough Vietnam movies yet. I haven't seen enough modern war movies.
There aren't a lot of Korean war movies.
There aren't a lot of Korean war movies.
Is there,
Or Cold War.
or like Guadalcanal? Just anything different. Like
Show
just a
something
different
at the
war.
Bay of Pigs.
The Falkland Island War.
Yeah, we actually mentioned the Falkland Islands in our show Corporate, so we're taking care of that. What about? There's all sorts of wars.
Oh yeah, we live in a society where war is inevitable.
I'm
and
tired of
constant.
World War II. It doesn't matter anymore.
Let's get out of World War II, guys.
It didn't even happen.
Yeah. It's definitely not as exciting as we're making it out to be in the movies. Number 3, Den of Thieves, the new Curtis 50 Cent Jackson movie.
I mostly like Curtis Jackson because he's talked about getting his ass licked, and I think that that's really cool for a rapper to do.
That is.
And I think in general he's not very progressive a person, but sometimes he is, and in that way he is. And so I'm down for anything he does.
You got to go see Den of Thieves then.
Yeah.
It's his bank heist movie, I think. Something. It's a bank heist, and there's dirty cops involved.
Did he talk about getting his ass licked in the movie?
You have to go see the movie.
Yeah, you got to go see
Yeah,
it.
it's the entire third act.
Don't want to spoil.
That's how they get out of the bank.
Yeah, you don't want to spoil too much, but getting your ass licked is a great way to distract the cops. They don't want to look on the cameras for that. Cops are not progressive enough yet. Number 4, The Post. Have you seen this one? Or you any desire to see this one?
I mean, with Spielberg movies, obviously he's amazing, but it's like it's amazing how someone can have made billions and billions of dollars with nothing to say. And it's like, fine, it's for everyone. It feels fine to watch it. He gets the best actors around, and it's this kind of pandery bullshit thing. You know what's going to happen before it happens, and it's well shot, and I don't care. I was left feeling empty. But I took my dad, because he's 84, and I needed to take him to a movie, and I knew that he would be okay. He'd be like, "That's a movie," you know,
Yeah.
like that. It's like a movie. Technically, it's a movie because things happen and there was a story. But if it's your favorite movie, you don't like movies. You like just being anesthetized.
Yeah, it's like you go to see Old Faithful. You know, it's a geyser. You know, it's going to go off. You know, it's going to be
well
a
shot.
spectacle. It's going to be well shot. It's going to have, it's going to be fine acting wise. You're going to get to see maybe somebody do an accent that's not their normal speaking voice, and they're going to do an okay job at it.
I felt nothing.
I have no desire to see The Post.
Yeah.
It's one of those movies that, like, okay, yeah, I get it. This got made. It's going to be, it's one of those Oscar baity as a standard kind of movies, I think.
It's just why did you make it? What is your point?
Yeah. I will tell you what, I'm much more excited. Spielberg's got the Ready Player One movie coming out this year, and that's much more in the vein of like, oh yeah, this is something that looks a lot more interesting. And I know there's going to be it's a lot of pop culture eye candy is what, based on the trailers, the movie seems to
But
be
I'm
about.
fine with that because I'm fine with you if you're just going to do eye candy because you're not trying to say something. If you're trying to say something with the post, like, oh my god. It at the end of the post they like echo, like they're trying to make a point that Trump is doing what they used to do. You know what I mean? And it's like, I know. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
who
that's
cares?
pretty obvious.
But just make some cool shit. You have billions of dollars. Do cool things. I don't care.
Number 5, The Greatest Showman. Another. This one. Okay, yeah, great. You got the people who made this music in La La Land. You got Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, I have no interest in it, but I do like a good number. I just don't care. Like again, like why? I'm worried about the people with all these movies. If it's your favorite movie, what are you alive for?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you just want to be distracted from your day. You don't care about anything. I'm a harsh person.
I feel like The Greatest Showman was made for people to create GIFs and share it on their Tumblrs.
Right.
I feel like it's a very like teen centric, like, oh, we're gonna make some. This is a movie about being yourself and not letting anybody keep you down.
Right.
And it's one of those. I don't know. I think there are other better movies that could do that. Like, for example, this one apparently has gotten the best reviews of the year, and one of the only 4 to make 100% totally on Rotten Tomatoes is Paddington 2, which is number 6 at the box office this weekend.
I didn't know there was a Paddington one.
There was.
Yeah.
And this one is apparently even better than
Brilliant.
Paddington 1.
Brilliant.
Have you seen Paddington 2?
I haven't seen either of them, but
You know they're
apparently we have to go and watch it.
I have a friend of mine who's really into Paddington, and he said that the first Paddington was a really great movie, and then there's now this. Are you familiar with Movie Pass? I take it. Yeah.
I'm familiar.
Oh, I figured. So I'm part of a Movie Pass related Facebook group, and everybody's like, "Oh, Paddington 2, we got to go see that." And I'm like, I don't know. Do I want to go see a good kids movie? But it's gotten amazing reviews. Everybody's saying it's one of the best movies of all time, according to Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah. Well,
So who knows?
great. If that's what makes people happy, go for it. I don't know why people go to movies anymore. It seems like nothing is good. But yeah, Paddington 2 is easily the best movie I've ever seen.
I think it'd be so
haven't
fun
seen
if it changed your outcome on life.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe you maybe shouldn't see Paddington. What if it's so charming and happy that it totally changed your nihilistic worldview,
I
Jake?
don't want it.
Yeah, see, you can't. I don't want that for you either.
Paddington 3 would just be me killing myself while watching Paddington 2.
And Paddington, he's gonna shove marmalade down your throat until you choke and die. Number 7, The Commuter. Staying Liam Neeson stock is saving people, doing
Liam
things.
Neeson's wife died, right?
Yes.
Ever since then, something is wrong. Like, he's just doing this thing where he's enacting revenge. Like, clearly he's full of rage, but I kind of like it. Because it's like he's doing the best he can to be distracted from his pain. And he's making more money than ever.
I think he plays well into that vein.
He's good.
I think.
I like Taken.
Yeah, Taken's very. It's another fun time. The movie's
It's fun.
good, thrilling, entertaining. Do you think Do you think Liam Neeson as a character would play well in the corporate universe?
Yeah. Yeah, I do. I think he's way too good for us. And so if he agreed to do our show, it would be sad, I think. Like, there's certain people where you're like, don't know who I am. If you know who I am, the illusion's broken. And he's one of those people. Yeah, man, I would love to get him, though. I'll get him.
You
Yeah,
can.
I'll get him.
I believe in you. Number 8, Star Wars: The Last Jedi.
I've never seen a Star Wars.
At all?
No.
No, never.
What's wrong with me?
Who knows?
Is it good? Do you like it or not like it?
I liked it. I think I don't understand a lot of the criticisms being levied at it. I know there's a big thing this week that everybody talked about because the director went on Twitter and he
showed that it was part of the lore.
Yeah, exactly, and shutting up all these fucking Star Wars nerds. I think it's a good movie. I think it's very well shot. There's a lot of really the truly beautiful moments, which is hard to do in modern sci-fi. I think I'm not like so deep down the Star Wars hole that I have gotten crazy wrapped up in all of this fan drama, but
I think it's super lame if you're like super upset about the new Star Wars. It's like that's what you have in your life to get mad about.
Yeah.
This new populist movie that is kind of just for children. So I just enjoy it or don't talk about it.
That's
like,
not just for children, Drake.
it's just not important at all. It's made to make billions of dollars. It's not really. It doesn't care about you. It's
Yeah.
not. It was never that good.
it's owned by Disney, for God's sake. If there's ever a movie franchise that is not supposed to care about anybody anymore, it's Star Wars.
True, very true.
Get out
and
of
also
it,
Walt
nerds.
Disney was an anti-Semite.
Yeah, true. See, we never forget. Let's go. Number 9, Insidious: The Last Key. January horror movie. You got whatever kind of demonic possession going on. I've never seen an Insidious movie. It's one of those
I like
franchises
the
that kind of
word
exists.
insidious. It's funny that that's the title of something because most people don't know what that means.
I guess they don't.
Yeah, they don't. It's just a funny. It's like a little bit of a highfalutin title for something that's for dumb people.
Oh yeah.
So I'm in favor.
All right. Hey, keep it up. Number 9, it could rise. Number 10, Forever My Girl, the other new release that is in the top 10 this week. Some kind of romantic comedy. My girlfriend saw it. She said that it was pegged as like, this is going to be the next Notebook, but apparently it falls very short of the mark.
Forever My Girl.
Yeah.
Wow. It's just, again, why do you want to write that?
I don't
It's
know.
just that title. But it's probably great. It's probably the best movie ever.
Better than Paddington 2?
Yeah,
I don't know.
easily.
Paddington 2, it's coming for it. I think there's really only one big news story this week, movie-wise. The rest of movie land seems to be over in Sundance right now. So all the Sundance recaps are going on. People are talking about that new Gus Van Sant movie where Joaquin Phoenix plays the guy in a wheelchair who's paralyzed, and there's all kinds of other movies up there. There's that Laura Dern movie that's up there right now about sexual assault, all very timely, blah, blah, blah. The movie news story that I think is the most interesting one this week is Saudi Arabia began screening films after a decade-long film ban was lifted this week.
Oh, really? Why'd they... because they have a new dude.
Yes. So that new
Okay.
prince came in charge, and he jailed all the other princes in the Ritz-Carlton of Riyadh or wherever in Saudi Arabia it is. And now, so they're trying to be progressive in new Saudi Arabia. So they announced that they're going to start releasing films again earlier, or at the very end of last year. I remember we talked about this on an earlier episode. But the film that they chose officially to release this week in Saudi Arabia was the Emoji Movie. Yeah.
Yeah, good for them. I mean, I'm curious. There's going to be a bunch of young kids in the theater who are aspiring filmmakers who are going to be inspired by the Emoji Movie because it's the only movie they've ever seen. So I'm really excited to see what they come up with.
I can't. Yeah, Saudi Arabian filmmaking is going to be fantastic after you put the Emoji Movie out for everybody else. Now, they said in a nod to conservatives, films will be censored to make sure they remain in line with the kingdom's moral values.
Yeah, they're having 50 Shades of Grey series after that.
Yeah, and they're gonna it's gonna be one
Like
shade.
5 shades, yeah.
Yeah. I can't imagine. I never saw the Emoji Movie. It's another one of those movies like it seems like at this point it's one of those movies that I would watch because of how bad everybody says it was. And I have that desire to watch movies like that every once in a while. The so bad that they might be good or they might not be good kinds of movies.
I don't know how old you are. I'm 34 now. So I have found a deep pleasure in the last years of my life of walking out of a movie if I don't like it.
Oh.
Which I don't know how you feel because I can feel my life being taken away from me by like wasting it on the movie we're actually going to talk about. But like I actually feel joy in leaving. I feel like I'm taking agency over my life. And like will you just watch anything?
For the most part, yeah, I have walked out of one movie before.
What?
I walked out of Wild Hogs.
I walked out of Gladiator in high school.
You walked out of Gladiator?
And I walked out of Casper.
Okay.
And I walked out of Silver Linings Playbook.
Were you alone watching it, or were you with friends?
No, I was with friends every time.
And the friends all stayed, and did you ever convince any of your friends to leave with you?
I was dating a woman when we were watching Silver Linings Playbook, and we left together, which really bonded us, but then we broke up. But in high school, I watched Gladiator with a bunch of friends. They all loved it. It's very, for boys.
I'd walk out of that, too.
Yeah, I thought it was garbage, and so I left that, and Casper I was with friends as well. I'm a very annoying person.
What happens to me is these days, if I see a movie that I don't like, I will just fall asleep during the movie. And that happened to me. I saw The Bad Batch earlier this year, and I hated that, and I was like, all right, cool, I'm going to fall asleep. Same thing with A Ghost Story. I thought A Ghost Story was not anything special. I see it at the end of the year, like all these new movie lists are like, oh, it's so well directed and it's so creative. I'm like, it's a movie that talks about, in the middle of the movie, it says, hey, making art is stupid, so why are you doing it? I'm like, you just fucking negated the whole purpose of your movie with this one scene, and I was so mad. That was a movie I almost walked out of, but I saw it at the ArcLight too, and I was like, if I'm paid my $20, somebody's just gonna seethe in this $20 moment.
I get confused why my dream was to move out to LA and make movies when I hate almost all of them. It's very confusing.
Yeah, it seems like you have you got a very select handful of movies that you really do like.
I got a lot of opinions.
But it's not like you're the only perspective, so that's a perfect way to get into that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's a perfect way to get into the movie that we have got you on this week to talk about, which is Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri.
Yeah.
if you have not seen it yet, or if you have been under a rock for the past couple months, Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri is a 2017 drama film written, produced, and directed by Martin McDonough, starring Frances McDormand, Woody Harrelson, Sam Rockwell, John Hawkes, and Peter Dinklage. Frances McDormand plays a mother who rents 3 billboards to call attention to her daughter's unsolved murder, polarizing the community. Jake, why do you hate 3 billboards?
I don't even know where to start. I think it's more appropriate. Is there anything I liked about it? Which is no, or that it was over. Like, that was a great moment for me. I was like, okay, good, I can leave. I think it's truly one of the worst, most bizarre movies ever made. It's one of those things that I've gotten very annoyed at. It's like kind of like liberal pandering. And it's trying to be real and say something really interesting about America, but it's written by a guy who doesn't live in America, who's definitely never been to the part of America that he's talking about. It's racist, sexist, not funny, not interesting, sloppy as hell, has so many errors in it just in a filmmaking way, has characters that are in it for no reason. Everyone's a piece of shit. Things happen that are some of the worst pieces of writing I've ever seen in my life in a movie. It's as pandering as could possibly be. Nothing makes any sense, and in the end you don't even know what he was talking about, and he never had anything to talk about. I think it is pure garbage, and I also think that it's a bit of a Rorschach test, because a lot of smart people are liking it, and they're under this spell. It's almost like a Scientology type of thing. And so I've talked about this in podcasts before, and it is something very important to me that we don't think this is what good transgressive filmmaking is. We need to break people out of their spell. I think it's akin to Crash, which is another horrible movie about race that won Best Picture in 2005. Brokeback Mountain easily should have beaten it for the Oscar. It should have been the worst movie of that year, considered that way. But it was a terrible movie. But it's these liberal people and sort of conservative people who are like, yeah, that's a white guy talking about race, and that's what it's really like. And he has no idea what he's talking about. And history has proven Crash wrong.
For sure, history has.
And I do think this is a very similar thing. It's a different type of movie, but I think it's in a similar vein. And I think it's like incendiary. I think it's like a Tarantino ripoff. Not even that big a fan of Tarantino anymore, but I think it's a ripoff, and I think it's pure garbage. And it's one of those movies that people are like, I loved it. And then when you start to be like, what about this? What about this? What about this? People are like, well, okay, all that's true, but I loved it. And it's like, but I just pointed out that it was bad. What are you really holding on to?
So I am one of those people who I saw this movie and I enjoyed the movie.
Okay.
So I figured this is going to be one of those movies, the movies we talk about that has happened a handful of times in this podcast so far, where I am open to the prospect of being wrong about some of the things about this movie. I do think the biggest critique that I've seen levied against it, especially ever since it won the Golden Globe, which sort of sparked this big outcry in public, as opposed
I
to
made
before.
the Moments tab on Twitter with my hatred for it. So I'm one of the people talking about how much I hate it.
There you go. You're an influencer.
I just want you to know I really care about this.
Congratulations. I think that. So obviously the biggest issue that cropped up in the public eye about this movie and has had its own set of articles written about it since then is the way that the movie handles race. There's a lot of usage of racially charged language in the movie.
You mean the N-word?
Oh yeah, the N-word is used so much
Said
by
by
white people. And
as a punchline.
Oh yeah, and there's what's the word? A lot of talk about police brutality against black people in this movie. And the biggest criticism is that the only black characters in the movie they seem to be in there as a product of tokenism. That is a critique that I have seen a lot. Talk to me about that. What are your feelings on the way that black characters are used in the movie and how the movie's views on race hurt what the movie is trying to get at?
Well, obviously we're white people, so it's not necessarily our issue. I just think it's one of the problems with the movie.
Okay.
It did offend me in the sense of terrible. I think it is racist, and I think it is terrible writing. First of all, but first of all, I just want to say overall, what I hate is I think it's a poorly made movie disguised as a brilliant incendiary movie, and I think if you watch it again, you would see the problems. But it uses race as a thing. It doesn't care about race. It's more concerned about white people's white people's redemption than it is about the black people in the movie. There's a point at which in the movie where two extremely small characters they're black characters that are barely in the movie go on a date. We don't really know who they are or anything. One has gotten out of jail for being was put in jail for smoking marijuana, and then comes out of jail. Is never really talked about the fact that she was there for 3 weeks, and then she is in a scene with another black character who puts up the billboards, and then later they're on a date. Why, Jay? Oh, because they're both black. That's the only reason they're on a date. We don't even know who they are. They're on a date because they're both black. They never even talk in the movie. They're just on a date because they're black. It makes no sense. It's so offensive. And then also the other black character is like a new police guy who comes in and calls a white guy cracker. Mm-hmm. And he is not given, it makes no sense. He has nothing to do in the movie. He calls a white guy cracker.
Yeah, that's right.
It is so poorly done. There is a joke by Sam Rockwell and Frances McDormand who both say the N-word, where Frances says like, "Oh, you tortured," and she uses the N-word, and he goes, "No, it's correct. It's more correct to say I tortured a black person or a person of color," which is not a good joke. Mm-hmm. It's a very hacky joke. It's not funny. It thinks it's cool, and it's extremely offensive, and it's two white people talking about the N-word in a way that's like, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
Are you showing that's how white people talk? Like, you don't have any idea what's going on in this part of the country, and you shouldn't be talking about it. And I do think that using race to like bait people into thinking a movie is smart is really fucking awful. Now, again, I'm white, so it's really not my thing to make, but I think it's just one of the problems with the movie, and I'm coming at it from like a filmmaking perspective and a writing perspective. It's terrible writing, and these characters are paper thin. For a movie that talks about race, it's unfair.
Yeah, I think that it's got for a movie that does talk about race the way that Three Billboards does, you gotta have, especially if you're a white guy doing it, and not even an American white guy on top of it.
He has no idea what he's talking about.
He's got a view of race relations in America
now,
that is coming probably just from the way that the rest of the world is perceiving America.
But also it's clear he doesn't care about the subject.
Yeah.
So why is he writing about it?
That's why, and that's part of the thing about this movie too, is it's so, the whole race portion of this movie is really placed so much on the back burner compared to the white people redemption aspect of the movie,
but also,
which is the whole narrative arc of the thing.
So the race thing, I mean, again, I shouldn't necessarily be the one talking about it. I just think it's one of the things about this movie that is straight up horrible, and it just happens to be racist.
Right.
And I just find it so incredibly offensive. But there's the thing about the movie that I want to say is that it's terrible, but in a way that's like closer to like The Room than it is to, like, I think it's trippy bad. Like, there are some things in it where I'm like, wait, what just happened? Wait, so you think this is smart? This is terrible filmmaking. This is bizarre writing. Like, it just makes no sense to me. It's almost like it was like a first draft written on mescaline. It's like it makes, but that's not. But that could be cool, but it's not. Mm-hmm. Like for instance, like what? Like, why is there a CGI deer in the movie?
So are you saying the writer isn't from a small town in America at all?
Oh, definitely.
No, he's from Europe.
Yeah, he's Irish.
Yeah.
Irish
so that's
playwright.
like the problem right there.
I mean, listen, I loved Phantom Thread, and that was set in England. So, like, I think, like, but he's not talking about major English issues.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like people, like, and Lars von Trier did those movies, Dogville or whatever about America. I think it sucked, but, like, people have done that before.
Yeah, but it's almost like he's just writing about through something that he read through articles in the New Yorker or something.
Yeah.
That's exactly how it felt. And listen, you can do whatever you want. And America's kind of the epicenter of entertainment. So it is the most, it's like punching up, which is fine. But it doesn't feel like it's punching up. It feels like it's just making white people feel good about themselves. Mm-hmm. And it's just weird. It's like, I think he's just trying to be cool. And there's so many things in the movie where he thinks he's being cool or interesting or making good points. Where it's like, I made these points a long time ago. Like, there's a speech by Frances McDormand where she talks to a priest about like how hypocritical he is. It's like,
right, yeah.
Are you serious? Like, this
been
happened
done.
15 years ago. I was saying this in college. Like, this isn't interesting. And it's for people who aren't that smart to make them feel smart. Anyway, I know you have a list of things.
But that's the thing. I think and this is why I wanted to have you on to talk about this too, is because I know why I like this movie. But you're also hitting the points that are like, oh yeah, that is why I liked it.
Why'd you
It's
like
very dog whistly. You know what I mean? Like, it hits these points where it's like, oh yeah, this is the way I think, and there's somebody else saying it, so it's like I don't have to worry about that. I grew up in a very conservative environment, right? And I had beliefs that were more in line with some of the characters in this movie. So it was really just with Frances McDormand's character about like how she's like, oh, so he's righteous and she can say all this stuff, and it's like, fuck the man, fuck the cops, all this kind of stuff, fuck religion, and all this.
That's where you grew up? You grew up with that sort of thing?
No, I grew up in that conservative environment.
What she was fighting against.
What she was fighting against.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay, cool. This is somebody else who is like me on film. But that doesn't necessarily make it a good movie. You have a good... That's a point that you're bringing up that I think is important and something that I just hadn't thought about.
So you're saying if you had seen this when you were 15, it might have had a bigger impact.
It might have.
Because you're like, wow.
Because then I was
thought about
definitely
that.
like, oh yeah, I'd never thought about that. I'd never... Because that was at the time when I was like just starting to like not go to church as much.
And you were
anymore.
taught to respect cops, and you were taught to respect
Yeah,
authority, and you were like, and
yeah.
you're white, so you were like, white people are fine.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and that's sort of, and I get that. I mean, sure, if it can help someone be a better person, then great. Always make that movie, but
It felt kind of like a throwback almost in terms of the way that like I used to feel this kind of righteous anger that Frances McDormand's character feels.
when you were growing up and starting to realize that you were taught bullshit, you felt anger.
Yeah.
Okay. But then did you have a flashback in your life where you wished your daughter got raped?
No.
Because that's the worst flashback of all time.
Yeah.
Literally the worst writing I've ever seen is a scene. This woman was raped and murdered, and there's a flashback where the last thing she said to her daughter was, I hope you get raped.
Yeah.
That was in the movie.
Yeah.
So if it's a joke, it's a terrible joke.
Right.
And if it's not, that's the most on-the-nose writing I've ever seen in my life. So that's what I'm talking about. It's like, yeah, okay, I'm sure there are things that I can't... Listen, I've been an angry liberal person since I was young. My sister's gay. I've always hated the far right because it's like, I know you're wrong. My sister's the best person. So I've always hated those people. But this is like... I just think I could have written this in a day. Like, I just don't think it's smart. Nothing it's saying is something I haven't thought about, but I guess I'm coming from a privileged, like, liberal white background as well.
But okay, well, there's the other reason why I like this movie is I tend to like movies and TV with unlikable characters. And this
I'm
movie,
fine with that.
And
My
this
show
movie-
has unlikable characters.
Exactly. Yeah. And this movie is chock full of unlikable characters, but there are movies that I saw this year with far better written unlikable characters than in Three Billboards.
If characters are unlikable, make them funny or charming.
Right.
Like, if they're pieces of shit, at least have good jokes. I'm talking about the literal writing of jokes.
Yes.
Is so bad.
because the jokes are they're jokes based on they're jokes based on shock value for shock value's sake.
It's just, all I'm saying is literally it's bad writing. Like, I that's where I'm mostly coming from, is like, it's little things like, oh, Dixon, what do you think about that, Dixon? Like, always saying someone's name at the end. It's like, thinks it's in this drama it's not in. It's like just really on the nose, forced writing. All the women in the movie, besides Frances McDormand, are played for idiots. The jokes are not good. They're hacky. There's 3 posthumous letters read by Woody Harrelson. He dies, and then 3 letters are read since he died. He's not an important character in the movie. He's gone pretty fast. He kills himself, and then 3 letters are read by him. So what? Who cares about this person? It makes no sense at all. Like, it's just, there's also a point at which like Woody Harrelson says, like, Sam Rockwell's reading the letter. Sam Rockwell's just this horrible character, and everyone's like, Sam Rockwell's so good. It's like, no, he's not. He's bad in that movie. He's an amazing actor, and so is Frances McDormand, and they're both so thinly written that they're terrible. They're one note, not good, and because people know they're good actors, they just say, oh, but they're in that movie. It's like, I don't care. They were directed poorly and edited poorly. They seem like cartoons. Anyway, he reads this Woody Harrelson letter where he's like, oh, and don't, and also maybe you think you're gay and don't worry about that. It's just written so flippantly and just so stupidly. It's like, it's not, someone read the Cliff's Notes about race in America and wrote the movie. And I just don't, I think there's so much smarter stuff out there. It's just, if it were funny, if the jokes were good, I would like it. It's just not funny. It's not a drama. It's neither of those things. And it's trying to be both. And I just literally sat in shock the whole movie. When I first started, I know that I'm just talking right now.
No, please, and say what else you're going to say, and then I wanted to ask you a question about Martin McDonagh and his other work. 15
minutes into the movie, I was dating someone at the time, and I said, and we looked at each other like, what is going on? It was right before the priest scene, where she gives this rousing speech to a priest about what a hypocrite priests are, which is like, yeah, Spotlight came out, we know. And everyone started clapping in the theater. And this was in Hollywood, and I go, oh, this movie sucks. Because this is speaking to people who are stupid, who can't articulate these things that are so obvious and you should already know. You think he's playing it to dumb people so they can feel smart, and it's pandering to liberals who think it's like transcendent and interesting. It has nothing to do with any reality I've ever experienced. I just think that it's truly baffling and strange, and I think people are under a spell. Anyway, ask me the question.
Well, so have you seen the other films that Martin McDonagh has made?
I haven't seen In Bruges. I've seen Seven Psychopaths.
Okay. I've seen both. Do you feel like Martin McDonagh as a filmmaker is trying too hard, essentially? Like,
yes.
he's gotten all these big accolades for writing, and now it seems like him trying to cross over. He's got a very specific style that he's trying to adhere to, and it might not be as sharp or as witty as Americans.
He's aggressively trying to be politically incorrect, and it's not cool. He thinks it's cool, but he's an old dude, and he thinks he's being really interesting when he has no context for what he's doing. I think he's a Tarantino ripoff. I think that he is not saying anything, and he thinks he's saying everything. I think he has no actual knowledge of the worlds that he talks about. I think Seven Psychopaths is bad. I think it's fucking bad, boring, stupid, seen it before, not good, not entertaining. I haven't seen In Bruges, and everyone says that's the movie, but I would honestly say you should go back and watch In Bruges, and maybe it's not as good as you thought it was. If you don't like Three Billboards, which you shouldn't because it's bad. Also, I was reading a review that said there's a scene where, like, here's little stuff in Three Billboards that I don't like. Like, Woody Harrelson curses in front of his kids, and that's supposed to be like, oh, what a cad. And it's like, but apparently he did that in Bruges. It's not that cool. Like, that's not funny. That's a joke that's been made, that's been done. That's an easy way to write a character. It's not interesting. It's like sort of like dad humor. Like, it's not, there's something, so I haven't seen In Bruges. I would judge it on its own merits, but I do find the way, and you're not doing this, but a lot of people defend the movie like, well, you got to see In Bruges to really understand what he's talking about. It's like, no, I think he's a swindler. I think that he makes you think he's saying something important when he's just being sort of like a bad boy.
You might be right about that.
I think I am.
It's one of these things that, like, I'm going to have to watch the movie
you have
again.
To. And if you like it, that's cool. And a lot of people have argued in favor of it. Smart people. But I will tell you this, like, since I started talking about it online, there have been a bunch of people. There's one extremely famous person who DM'd me, who's in comedy, who was like, thank you for talking about this. I can't talk about it because I know this person. I know who I've met him. But it's a horrible movie, and I'm completely baffled by the reaction to it. It's racist, sexist, stupid, incoherent, makes no sense at all. But I can't talk about it because people are talking about how good it is in a way that is Crash-like. And the people that have DM'd me, they're all in fear of talking about it. It's getting less so now because they're all like, what are people talking about? It's like voting for Trump. It's like a little like, wait, you're voting for Trump? What are we even talking about? That's not an option. That's how I feel about the movie.
I think, and there's obviously a big conversation now, especially after it won Golden Globes, that it is a big top contender for Best Picture of the Oscars. I don't think that's true. I think it's going to be in the running. I think it'll get nominated for some stuff. I think the best shot it has to win any awards is probably Frances McDormand to win Best Actress. But overall, I do think there are a lot of other movies that are better that came out this year that handle and that don't have to take an approach the way that Three Billboards did.
I just think it's purposely trying to stir a conversation, which I'm not necessarily opposed to if it's funny. but it's not funny. The jokes are bad. Like, there's so many weird aspects to it. Like, 19-year-old that Frances McDormand's ex-husband, she's supposed to be like this comedic relief, isn't funny. Like, the jokes are not good. It's stuff I've heard before. Peter Dinklage is just called a midget the whole time. It's like, what? Why are we making fun of his height? That's cool? Is that funny? That's what's been going on forever. Why is that okay here?
Right.
Like, what is interesting about that? The jokes aren't good or interesting. He's one of our best actors, and you're just deriding him for his height in an uninteresting way. I don't think I'm a very PC person, but I think that I just care if something's original and good.
Right.
And I just can't understand. Like, I can understand, but I can't understand what's going on.
Yeah, he's making it. I think that you make a really great point when you say, especially when you bring up, you're not being PC is not necessarily what this movie should be about, but that's the thing that everybody's latching onto, like, oh, this is super not PC, and Martin McDonagh is such a provocateur and he's doing all this stuff, but it kind of is a mirage.
It's like people who live in the suburbs have a night out and they're like, ooh, we saw this really adult movie. Did you see it? It was pretty wild, huh? And it's like, no, there's so much. Watch porn. That's crazier. You know what I mean? That has more to say about race relations than fucking Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. It's just, I can't take it. It's actually something I don't like about certain comedians, where they don't have a point of view, so they just are kind of racist or they're kind of sexist just because, like, well, I can say whatever I want. You know what I mean? And it's all smoke and mirrors and there's nothing there.
Right.
And it's before they learn that, like, words do have context and that, like, you should try to do something original and not just be the same piece of shit that's come on stage forever. I think it's, like, really baseline. This one is dressed up a little better and has good actors, but when I've asked people, like, so here, I'll ask you, what do you think the movie's about?
The movie is about Frances McDormand trying to get justice for her daughter.
And so, what do you come away with at the end?
You come away with at the end, she doesn't get justice, and so she has to take it in her own hands. But even then, she's making a bad choice.
So, I guess the point is, revenge is not good.
Yeah, I guess.
Which a freshman in college would write about when they fucking take their first class, like in cinema. Like, that's how I feel. It's like freshman college shit. It's like, it's saying, it's like, I like Memento, but it's like when you first see Memento or like cool movies, like, oh man, I like cool stuff, you know, stuff that it thinks it's cooler than it is. It's hokey. It's written by a fucking out-of-touch dad who's been famous for a while. And I don't think it has anything interesting to say. And while saying all these horrific things and portraying people in such a horrible way, it thinks it's saying something worth saying. And I cannot figure out what it's saying. But also, I don't even understand what's happening in the movie. Like, I cannot express to you how baffled I was watching it. Like, the guy that comes in to Frances McDormand's shop.
Oh yeah,
and then
they say he's not.
So he theoretically
rapist.
is the rapist, but then isn't the rapist.
That made no sense.
So
to
then
me.
what is the point? What is he doing in the movie?
And one of the things that I have seen a lot of specific critique about, besides the race stuff, from a writing standpoint especially, is the third act of the movie. And how a lot of it focuses on trying to redeem Sam Rockwell as a character. I don't think that it does try and redeem him as a character because he's an irredeemable character. The whole movie is full. Like I said, this movie's full of unlikable characters, right?
Yeah.
And he's trying. And they're like, "Oh, he's being redeemed for being racist." He's not really redeemed for being racist because he still is being a bad person, and he's trying to be a good cop. But even then, he's still like, "Well, we're gonna go murder a dude across state lines."
It's that same thing. It's similar to men right now, where instead of listening to women talk about how they're all sexually harassed, they're more focused on the redemption of men than what women are going through. So it's white people being obsessed with the potential redemption of white people than talking about black people being treated like garbage forever. And it's, oh, why can't white people be redeemed? What's wrong with that? It's like, you're guilty. You sound guilty and you're acting guilty, and your rage at the impossibility of redemption is very telling. And I think it's like, this is not a story to tell. I don't care about this person. Why are we even talking about this person? He's not interesting. Mm-hmm. He's just a dumb fuck. Like, why is he the one? I agree. Like, everyone goes, well, it's about his redemption. It's like, I don't care. Why are we talking about him?
Right.
He's not interesting. He's not a well-wrought character. There's no explanation. His mother's in the movie who's kind of a piece of shit, but there's no explanation as to how the system has fucked him, which would
Right.
make it more interesting. He's just a piece of shit. And so I feel like, but not only that, Jay, it's it's bad morally and politically and socially, but it's just insane. The Room-esque filmmaking. He scratches off the guy's cheek, like he scratches off a piece of the guy's cheek to put in a DNA case. It's inadmissible in court. It makes no sense. It doesn't make any sense at all. This isn't, like, his redemption is the worst written thing ever. I feel like he's on drugs and he thinks he's a fucking genius. He's like Robin Williams doing stand-up, but he doesn't have improv talent. You know what I mean? It's just like, this is the first draft thing and he thinks he's a fucking genius and he didn't, like, write it. This is how I feel. It's like, what are we even talking about with this movie? Nothing. I don't even understand what anyone's doing. Why is Woody Harrelson a character? Why does he spit blood on Frances McDormand? That's not what happens when you have cancer. Like, I just feel like everything is written in the most absurd way, but it's not really a comedy. And so no one really can explain to me what the movie is. Sorry. Whew.
No, it's okay.
This is good for me.
It seems very cathartic for you.
You should watch Bad Moms, man.
Oh man,
Why-
we talked about that a couple weeks ago.
Why are there fire extinguishers in their car? How come they have fire extinguishers in their car when the billboards are on fire? They just have fire extinguishers? What are we talking about? Why is there a CGI deer in the movie? This is the shit where it's like, everything is so crazy
But
that
how
people
else
are
are you
like,
going to remember Frances McDormand's a human if she doesn't talk to a deer?
yeah, and it's there's so much shit where I understand people's need or urge to think it's brilliant, but it's not anything. Like, I don't even think it's a movie. I just think it's like, it's just a pastiche of ideas by an out of touch rich writer.
I think
I love the movie.
I really think you might be onto something, and I'm going to watch it again from a more critical perspective.
Well,
but that's the thing. I think maybe my mind won't be changed. Maybe I'll watch it again and I might still like it. But talking to you at length, because this is the first I've seen a lot of people poking holes in the movie on social media and in person, and this is the first time I've ever talked to somebody at length about the problems with the movie.
there's a scene at which Frances McDormand's ex-husband starts to, like, beat her up a little bit, and then their kid holds a knife to his throat. And it's never talked about again. And it's like you held a knife to your dad's throat to get him to stop beating up your mom.
But that's just what they do in Missouri,
It's like,
man.
what are we talking about
That's
here?
just what life's like.
This is so crazy. And, like, that guy is a horrible person. Like, why does he have a young girlfriend? Why is that okay? Like, it's just so... I'm not into necessarily morals for, like, I don't believe, like, morality is so whatever. I don't think you have to be moral with your filmmaking, but thinks he's saying something incredible and he's doing all this shit that is horrible. He's portraying people in a way that is so disgusting and misogynistic and racist that it, like, belies his own beliefs. There's no way he could write a 19-year-old girl that is dumb without thinking 19-year-old girls are dumb.
Right.
And I just don't, I think it's like, why are we praising this man? If he's like, fuck you, I don't care, I'm the man. Like, if he were like Owen Benjamin-esque, where he's like, fuck everything, and just a piece of shit, I'd honestly be okay with it more. But he thinks he's saying this incredible moral thing and being like this moralist about America. Oh, I can solve America's problems. Everyone has rage. They just got to stop the rage because it's pointless. It's like, you have rage towards everyone you're writing for.
Yeah. I think this is a question I was going to ask you anyway, and I think I can probably already guess what the answer is. Is there anything that this movie could have done to redeem itself in your eyes?
Yeah, if you'd put me in it. And paid me a lot of money to act.
Can't wait for the news. The 4 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, starring Jake Weisman.
If there were a 4th billboard, I would have been fine.
I think, I'm gonna have to watch this movie.
I'll
again.
say this.
Say it.
Great trailer. And that's what really got me to see the movie. I was like, this is a kick-ass trailer. And a good trailer is very important. It's awesome. It seemed Coen Brothers-esque. I was excited. Frances McDormand obviously is great.
Oh yeah.
But
yeah.
I
Do you feel like I mean, you said that the writing really hampers her and Sam Rockwell and the other characters in this movie. What do you feel about the performances in this movie? Do you feel like they're acted well? Do you feel like the writing?
I think it's a little one note, but they're doing the best they can. My fault is not with the actors. My fault is with the fact that the actors agreed to do the movie. Like, I don't understand what they're seeing. And unless it was a totally different script and got edited a certain way, because there are so many plot holes in it that it seems like it could have been 30 pages longer, which would have explained some stuff. But I think it's what I have an issue with is people, when I poke holes in it, go, well, but I love Frances McDormand and Sam Rockwell. It's like, oh, so you just like actors. Like you don't really know what you're talking about. You're just defending it because you don't want to admit you got duped. And I just think I think the trailer was so good and it was critically acclaimed so much that people couldn't believe it was bad. It's so bad that people think it's intentional. And it's not. It's so bad. It's like The Room. It's like so bad that people don't understand that's not a stylistic choice. It's just his lack of skills. That's how I feel. I really feel like this is like a con. I feel like it's a giant con.
It might be. I gotta watch this movie again. Is there?
I love that we're recording this in the morning.
No, right? This is a great. I've already had one cup of coffee, and I feel like I'm not gonna need any more the rest of the day.
Yeah, I'm like sweaty.
Fueled on righteous film nerd rage now. I have one more question for you. Yeah. This is Three Billboards. We're gonna put it aside for a sec.
Okay.
What do you think is the best movie of the past year? What do you, if you were Mr. Oscar, who are you giving the award to?
I don't know because Oscars are so ridiculous.
Right.
But I don't know if this is the best, but Phantom Thread I thought was just wonderful.
I got to see that. I love Paul Thomas Anderson.
It's pretty amazing. I've seen it twice in theaters. I thought it was stunning, and it's amazing the first time. And the second time's even better. I can't express to you how beautiful it is. It's really wonderful. I definitely liked Lady Bird a lot. I liked Call Me by Your Name. I liked The Florida Project. There were a few other movies I liked a lot, but that I can't really remember. But I thought there were a lot of good movies this year.
Those are good years for movies.
Yeah, I thought it was good. I think every year actually is a good year for movies. You just have to look hard.
Yeah.
I think it's like there's always like international stuff that's great. You just have to care about movies. Most people, when they think about movies, they're like, what is the top 10 in the box office? The Lego movie? Like, it's like stuff that's not why I love movies. Mm-hmm. Which is a bit snobbish, but I am. And I think there's been there's always great movies. And I do think Phantom Thread is like an exquisite. I definitely recommend seeing it. In fact, I'm mad at you that you haven't seen it.
I can't wait to see it.
Yeah,
I love it. There Will Be Blood's my favorite movie.
You will like Phantom Thread.
I think
it's pretty wonderful.
I have a good feeling about it. Jake, thank you so much for coming on and talking today about Three Billboards.
Thank you for letting me be a bitchy Jew.
Glad to have you anytime. So obviously, of course, everybody go watch Corporate on Comedy Central. Jake, is there anything else? Any other places my listeners can find you and find your work?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Weisman Jake. But really, please watch Corporate on Comedy Central. I do think it's good, and you'll like it.
It is. It's good. Watch it. Definitely better than Three Billboards. But then that is apparently not very difficult. I am at Diet J on Twitter and Instagram. jlightcomedy.com for show dates. If you're listening and you live in San Diego, I will be in San Diego this week. I'm doing some shows at Lestat's on Tuesday and at the Reds Saloon on Wednesday, and probably a couple other spots. My website will have the show dates, jlightcomedy.com. And give it up to my man Max Goldman in the booth. Thank you so much, Max, and thank you to the Comedy Store for having me. Oh, I forgot. We have this is my first sponsorship this week. Is the Comedy Store. I've been sponsored by our girl running the merch site. Go buy Comedy Store shirts. We've got all kinds of Comedy Store shirts on sale at comedystore.com. There's a merch link. I think it's comedystore.com/merch. And you can buy shirts, and they're cheap, and they
all
fit
sizes,
nice.
Right?
All sizes,
all
sizes for men and for women, and they are very great and very comfortable. And you can wear the logo of the Comedy Store. If you like comedy, then go buy it.
Comedy Store is the best.
It is. It's the best place in the world. This has been another episode of Blockbusting. Guys, go see something good for a change.